So, new week, yet again. Intro track. I know that you were on it last week, and then the thing messed up. Did you get a chance to try it again?
Yeah, I did. And I just decided that it would probably be easier if I just quit the thing. So I quit. That's what I did.
You just quit trying?
Yeah, I just quit trying. It's just easier that way.
I was working on it with my little with Graham's Loog.
Loog?
Yeah, the little 3-string. It's like the tiny kid's intro guitar thing.
Oh, right.
It's like the top 3 strings of a guitar, and I've got some licks. I'm putting it together, but I'm also thinking, I'm starting a streaming thing on my Instagram.
Okay, so you're gonna snipe what's supposed to be our intro track for your own thing, huh?
It depends on how good it is.
Okay.
So.
Well, what's the move?
Anyway,
are you going to take the better one for yourself or the worse one for yourself?
That's a toss up. We'll see. I like really, if it was really bad, I would find it funny.
Right.
So maybe we'll go that way.
Well, here we are, everyone. We've done it again. Dipped in tone.
We made it.
We made it. You made it. We made it. We're all here. Just going to turn my headphones up a little bit. Episode 23?
23, yes.
Wow.
Every week's a milestone. Throughout, really since January of last year, it feels like, we made it through another week.
Oh my God. Wow. We did it. Here we are.
Every week.
My God, that was close. I do actually feel like that after this week. I'm not going to lie. Speaking of, what was last week like for you?
Oh man, I just been plugging away at doing stuff. I think at the end of the last podcast, I mentioned I ordered all the knobs for the Wildwood mill.
You did,
and I kind of like when this happens. They didn't send me a shipping notification, and they just showed up. And so I was like, "Oh, my knobs are here!" And I didn't. It was one of those things when you say, "Okay, I bought 2,000 knobs." That's a lot. That's a lot of knobs, right?
That's a lot of knobs. That's a lot of anything.
Yeah, it is. But you don't realize in that moment how much room that's going to take up. They're in no joke. There's 3 bags of them, and they're in a party size potato chip bag. They're huge, and I got the box and I picked it up and I was like, Jesus, what is this? I didn't realize what it was. And when I opened it, I was like, where am I going to put these? So I don't know. I'll have to just find a hole for them.
Just give one bag to Graham so he can just start playing with it.
Well, see, the thing about these knobs, if you've never messed with a real Klon or any of my pedals that use this type of knob, it's like Bakelite or something. It's different. And they chip and crack. And so you have to be really gentle with them because if you just throw them somewhere, they just shatter.
Or hear me out.
Yeah.
Relict pedals, relict knobs. Just take them in the bags and just throw them down your stairs a couple of times. And then you can charge more for it. And you don't have to worry about keeping them nice. No,
because then what would happen is it would look like a potato chip bag because the bottom of they would just be turned to dust. They'd be pulverized. So, okay. But anyway, how was your week? It was rough.
Well, it was good. It was just busy. Did 2 videos last week. The last one being the quad cortex thing, which as of filming or recording this podcast right now, it just went live 20 minutes ago.
Literally.
That video took me 3.5 days to make, which is ridiculous. But I haven't done a product review sort of video in a long time. And I just got sucked into the vortex, man. It's like a 26-minute video.
That's like a short film.
Yeah, I'm yeah, I feel like I just got off of a roller coaster. So my next video, whatever it's going to be, is going to be the most easy, low effort, one camera. Hey, I'm going to talk about blues licks or something today, just to offset the amount of just insanity that went on with that video this week.
Does it make you crazy when a video that you put just an obscene amount of effort into is overshadowed by one that you just shot with your phone.
Oh, well, no. What frustrates me is like when a video like this doesn't do very well. It's like, oh my God, I put so much time into that. I wish it would have performed better. We'll see. The thing is, this is a gear video. Gear videos are kind of hit or miss.
Yeah.
So, and on top of that, we also have the season finale of Backstage Live happening on Saturday, which when this goes live, it will have happened on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big one for us because it's our season finale and we are announcing the band name. We're going to play our first original song. It's going to be a whole thing.
Do you have costumes?
No, but we did do a photo shoot last weekend.
I saw that. Yeah.
Dude, it was the pictures. I'll send you some. The pictures have turned out fantastic.
Did you wear costumes?
No, we did have wardrobe though. And,
okay, good.
I'll shout out the photographer, Mary Caroline Russell. Everyone should go check her out on Instagram. MC is literally, I think, like one of the best photographers in the like space right now. She's unbelievable. I've toured with her for years. She works a lot in the music photography space. And
when you said that, I just think photographers in space. Sorry.
But anyway, we shot film and we shot digital, and she rented like a Hasselblad medium format, like real deal film camera, which I'm really excited to see how those come out. We'll get those next week, I think. But
cool.
Yeah, so doing all that, and we're getting a dog on Monday.
Man, you're just gonna be. You're not gonna have any time for videos. You're just gonna be.
Yeah.
So busy.
That actually
because what's gonna happen?
Nice.
You're gonna be trying to play guitar or doing a thing, and the dog will come in. And you're like, go, quit it.
Well, we'll see. That actually sounds kind of nice. Not having time for videos at this point after this week. So,
I feel that.
Well, shout out to everyone in the Patreon chat and Discord who's watching us live right now. The gifts are on point today. Pigs in space. Wow.
Yes.
That is a skill set. That is a talent to be able to dig up memes and GIFs like that super fast.
Right. Isn't it weird how all that stuff's just there?
It just exists.
That's crazy.
Somebody made that and was like, this will be useful one day. Somebody will use this.
What, pigs in space?
Yeah.
Well, that was a Muppet thing.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Yeah. See? You got to watch the Muppet Show.
Do you?
Man, the Muppet Show. Oh, yeah, hold on. The Muppet Show was great. like it's legit funny stuff. Like, and not just like in a kid way. I love that. Like, as I've grown older, watching movies and stuff, and you're like, did they just say that? Like, they can't say that because like so many jokes just go over kids' heads, and then you watch stuff, and you're like,
I do enjoy that.
That's like a sex joke. What are they talking about?
Pixar's really good about that, about sneaking some really like adult humor into their movies. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So yeah, if you guys want to join in while we are taping live, you can join the Patreon, link down below. Have we added a new tier yet? Have we figured that out?
No, but you know what Patreon just announced, and this is so convenient, is they're going to do kind of like the, not turnkey might not be the right word. They're going to start making merch. So like we can have a tier, and I think how it works is depending on the level of tier, you get like, or maybe you have like a graduated scale of if you pay this much, then like the first 3 months you get a mug, and then the next 3 months you get a thing, and then you get a nicer thing, and it just scales up on an annual basis. So that could be really cool. So they literally I just saw that today.
Amazing.
So I think that will be pretty wicked, and we can start making some merch that's only for Patreon.
Yeah, right. Love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys can join up. Patreon link down below, and we do a segment here on Dipped in Tone called Dip Your Rig. Do we have one lined up for this week?
We do, yeah. So I'll drop it into the
it in that
Discord
here.
And I open the email.
Oh my God, now it's just Muppets memes in here. God.
So I think I kind of like the idea. Oh, let me click upload, of going back and forth between like.
Oh yeah.
Not super fancy, but like, fancier, and then like entry level. Well, not entry level, but like, you know what I mean? Like high and low.
Just different. We're going to cover the spectrum of rigs here.
Yeah.
All rigs are worthy and worthwhile of dipping.
That's it.
Right? It doesn't matter how much money you spent on your rig. It doesn't matter how much gear you have. all rigs are worthy here on Dipped in Tone.
Yes. And one thing too, if you email us, if you're a Patreon supporter, you email us at dippedintone at gmail.com, your rig, which still makes me laugh. We might not get to it, just bear with us. We're going to we have to weed through them because there's a lot. But this one's from Philip Carter. And he said, this is mostly a shameless opportunity to talk about his Novo in the email, which I can appreciate. I think we both can. So what he's got a Novo Ceres J gold top gold over 3-tone burst with a Tort Guard black P90s. Oh, it's
hot.
Pretty wicked.
Hot.
A road worn 50s Telly, a gold top Les Paul Standard, and then he says a Super Reverb from 1970 that's been modded to blackface spec, a Vox AC30 C2X with Celestian Blues, and then he's got like a few other things. But those are the big boys. And then for his pedal board, super simple, Analog Man, Sunface, NKT, Red Dot, Wilson, Wah, a Timmy, a Volante, and then an HX Stomp. So it's like, yeah.
Bravo. Bravo. This rig is so dialed in. It is it's just a sight to behold. It is efficient. It is succinct, but my God, what taste. Yeah. Such taste, much tone. Somebody put Doge in the chat.
So Philip is in the chat too, so we can actually ask him questions while we're doing this. But looking at this, this is a hard one for me to add anything to.
I can't.
But,
yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I could see adding would be maybe something before the Volante that would be modulation, like some sort of analog or maybe
he's got the stomp there.
Yeah, but stomp. I'm just spitballing here. Is there anything you would add?
No, nothing I would add. Nothing. Literally nothing. This is, so guitar wise, you've got the bases covered. You've got the, what I think is the best P90 guitar of all time, Ceres J. You got the Telly thing with the maple neck, which is cool. So you're not all rosewood necks. And then you got the gold top Les Paul with the PAFs in it. I mean, come on. And then amp wise, you've got essentially a blackface super, which are killer. And then you've got the AC30. Now the C2X, is that the, I always get confused on the nomenclature with Vox. Is that the Marshall era, like early 90s to early 2000s, or is that post?
I think that's an import one, or an overseas. Chinese. It's like import from England, it's still import. Overseas, it's still England, that's still overseas.
Right.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, we got it. But it's got the blues in it, which is the move for AC30s, my opinion.
Yeah. And honestly, like I know you've played a bunch of AC15s that you liked. But for me, of all the modern era Vox stuff, I would only go AC30. They're a bear to move. I mean, that's the only downside I see to this setup.
Well, and they're loud.
But both those amps are heavy. So.
Oh, and there's a tweed in the corner. We didn't see the tweed.
Oh, so he has a Victoria tweed, but that's he said that's a small gig. You can only take one amp. Okay. Well, if you can only take one amp, he takes the super.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But this is this is my kind of rig. This is what I would have.
This is dialed in, man. Everything you need, nothing you don't. The only thing that I could see on the pedal board that I might change is I would put the Volante in the loop of the HX Stomp. Instead of, it looks like he's got it run in front of the Stomp. I would put it in the loop, I think.
Right.
It's kind of 6 of one, half dozen the other, honestly. But you could, I think that's what I would do. But that's it, man. Maybe a little bit longer board so you can get the Analog Man, the Red Dot on the board as well. So it's not sitting on the floor.
Hey, maybe he's going the Eric Johnson thing and you have to, your fuzz face has to be turned 30 degrees, or have it pointed southwest, or no joke. Isn't that a thing? Isn't that a legend of Eric Johnson? His fuzz face had to be turned one direction. I swear I'm not making that up.
That sounds so preposterous that it's either true or it's something that the gear page made up and has just floated around the internet.
I swear that this is a rumor I heard. But you know what? The chat's funny. They're saying that Eric Johnson just says like things like that to mess with people. I met Eric Johnson. He could not have been a nicer guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard from another guy who I think he worked at Carter, or he was just there, and he had worked at like a shop in Texas. And Eric Johnson once came to try some like vintage cabs, and he was playing a cab, and he's like, "That speaker has a hole in it," and they were like, "No way, like it doesn't. We've looked at it." He's like, "Yeah, it does," and he said, "I want you to take the back off and look." And they were like, "Are you serious?" Because like taking a Marshall cab apart is no small feat,
Right.
And so they did it, and they held a flashlight in front of the cone, and they found a pinhole. And he was like, "It's in this speaker. There's a hole in that speaker," and he was right. And but like that's the thing. Like when you've trained your ear to know what to listen for, you can hear things.
What a madman.
So
what a madman. So Philip says the Volante is in the loop. Well, there you go.
Okay.
Nothing I would change. You know what? I'm going to give this rig 10 out of 10 Shoils. Nothing I would change.
I would agree. This would be if this is like one of those things. If your friend said, "Hey, come over and jam," they have this. You'd be like, "Hey, I'm never leaving.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go to my house and play my stuff now."
Yep. And I'm not bringing anything over. I'm just going to show up and play your stuff.
That's right.
Nice. Well done, Philip. You're a man of great taste and discernment. You've done it. Congratulations.
You've been dipped.
You've been. God, this is so stupid.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, so yeah, if you want to submit your rig for Dipped in Tone, why? Okay, timeout. What's wrong with my brain? I can never say submit your rig to be dipped on Dipped in Tone. Just the rig, just the dip.
I don't know. You're probably high or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so high. Dude, I'm soaring right now.
No, dude, you're just burnt out. That's what happens. Like you're like you work so hard, because I'm like this. Like sometimes I'll come into the house to like tell Morgan something, and just like oatmeal falls out of my mouth. It doesn't make any sense what I'm saying. It's just
Gross.
mush. Yes.
I'm just picturing you like,
because my brain is mush. So what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying.
Oh, dude, Chris in the chat has just posted the official dipped your rig GIF right here. Check it out. That's it. That's done.
Is that real?
I don't know. I hope not. Oh, no. Okay, I can't, dude. No,
Jesus Christ.
No puke gifts, please.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
set a rule.
We're gonna have to have a moderator for some of these things.
Now we're starting to cross the line with me here in the chat. I'm not gonna look at the chat for a while now. Anyways, all right. This show's going off the rails, man. No edits though. Milton, don't just let it ride today. Just let it go. It's fine. Zach, what's our topic for today? What are we talking about?
I'll have to check the text. I think you said, is the future of guitar rigs digital? What did you say?
It's the future of guitar digital, just across the board. And I felt
digital
like
guitars.
I felt like this was a timely topic because this week we kind of had two things hit the market that are pretty big for the guitar world. Universal Audio announced their line of pedals this week, which is a pretty big deal. I would not have guessed UA would be getting into the pedal game. And there's a couple things I want to cover on that topic. And then, of course, the Quad Cortex. It's been over a year. People have been talking about it. Finally launched. It's really good. I put up my review on it. But, you know, it seems to me that every single sort of step forward that's happening in the guitar world right now is either completely digital or has a digital component to it. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. I do think that like all the advancements that are being made are leaning in a more digital way, not entirely. With things like the new tube and people trying new analog technologies to replace, the this antiquated stuff that we're still using. But yeah, I mean, like, so far as progressing as a community, it's definitely going digital. But I don't think analog is ever going to go away.
Right. But it does seem that the digital stuff is becoming more and more and more prevalent. And I think especially with younger players that are like getting into it, you know, it's way easier for a beginner guitarist to get a plug-in for their computer or, you know, use their phone or Amplitube or something like that. And they can play for years without ever touching or turning on a tube amp or anything like that.
Yeah, totally. Because I texted you, like, I texted you something different, but it was kind of like the idea is, you know, this is the best time to be a guitar player. And there's not, like, when you and I were starting to play guitar, the entry level things were not great.
No, no, they were not.
And like, I mean, obviously as technology advances, it just gets better and better for people to get into this, you know, hobby. And have the sounds that they want to have, but it's just incredible in the relatively short period of time how we've gone from like your entry level rig was like a pretty junky sounding solid state amp and like a rough playing guitar to now you have digital things that sound pretty wicked out of the box and are cheap, and guitars that are fantastic and are sub $200-$300.
And it's happening on the other end of the spectrum as well. So the universal audio pedals, let's talk about those for a second, because I want to know, we haven't talked about this at all, and I want to know your thoughts on it as a pedal builder. Essentially, it looks like it's just the universal audio plugins and those algorithms wrapped up in a hardware enclosure that fits on your pedal board.
Right.
And it's their DSP. You know, it's like you're buying like a mini Apollo that just runs 3 or 4 plugins. And there's a modulation one, there's a reverb one, and there's a delay one. Full stereo I/O seems to be, I mean, I don't know all the specs on them, but something you could mix with, you could put through your DAW and send drums through, but also too, it's like if you already have the plugins, well, I don't understand why you would do that. But anyways, and so what's happening now is the digital emulations on the top end of stuff, the high end of the market, is compared to the analog stuff, is getting so good. Specifically with companies like UA or Softtube or any of these, or Neural or whoever is doing it. It's like, man, it's getting so good to the point that under a microphone or in a DAW, you know, I've never used an EMT 140 plate reverb, but the plug-in sounds stupid good.
Right. Man, I was just looking at these new UA pedals, and they you can USB into them and like update the algorithms and stuff.
Right.
So like I guess presumably eventually you're going to be able to change the effects on the pedal.
Right.
When I saw it, because I had somebody, an industry guy, sent me a picture of it before it was announced, and I was like, "What?" Because like that's a little nerve wracking, you know, for a pedal builder. I mean, I don't think it's not stepping on any of my toes.
Yeah,
like,
there's
that's
like, yeah, you don't do like Echoplex copies.
No, but like it's interesting because I feel like you're right. Like the digital side of things is just going to keep getting better and better, and these guys are going to like, to me, I've heard them. You know, I watched some videos. I think next to Strymon, these are going to be some of the go-tos for most people now.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if they break out into more different, you know, they're going to do drives or compressors and stuff. I mean, I'm curious as to how this is going to go for them, because I think they look great and they do sound good, and it's an interesting idea. Well,
they've already done the R&D on it, because they have all the plugins. Like they have in you know, you think about all the Unison stuff with their preamps, and I use UA for everything now because they sponsor my channel and the
they're
live
$400. I didn't realize.
Yeah, they're expensive. I mean, it's Universal Audio, it's not cheap.
Right.
And so they already have all the algorithms, and because they sponsor my channel, I have the whole suite of their plugins. And dude, they have everything. They have, famous reverbs, famous delays. They've got, they worked with Softtube to do these amp plugins. They've got the Tweed plugin pack. They've got the Marshalls. They've got the Fuchs plugin. So it's like, they've already done the work on the algorithm side, making the programs. It's just a packaging thing at that point to put it into a pedal. I'm pretty sure it's the same chips. It's the same like DSP stuff that they use in their interfaces that's doing the processing. It's just on your pedal board.
Probably. I mean, I can't imagine them like reinventing the wheel on that. They're just going to find a new way to package it.
Right.
That I think they will definitely carve out a market, and I can totally see them eventually having like an Iridium sort of thing.
Right.
Because that would be way more interesting to me because they have a lot of the licenses.
Right.
To like do that. I mean, like that would be incredible.
They have the real stuff, right?
Like to actually have a Marshall, like that says Marshall on it thing or whatever.
Well, here's what I would like to see on that part. Hot take from Dipped in Tone. You're hearing it here first, folks. What would it look like if UA, or really it's Softtube, because Softtube is the company. So if you don't know, Softtube is a company, they're a plugin company, okay? And they do a lot of like, for UA, they've done most of the amp emulation stuff. Softtube and Brainworks, okay? So like when you pull up the Marshall Bluesbreaker plugin from UA, it says Softtube at the top, and Softtube stuff's really good. What would it look like for Softtube to partner with Marshall to do basically a Marshall Tone Master kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that would be sick, I think.
Dude, it would kill. It would be incredible for the. I mean, we've been talking about this forever. Like that's what people should do.
Yes.
Because it just makes more sense. It makes more sense to work on that instead of releasing some other like middle of the road like model of amp that in 5 or 6 years is going to be like, like it doesn't do anything to excite you as a player because they don't sound that good. You know?
Yeah. Well, the other thing too about like the Tone Master style thing is it solves a problem that is inherent with things like the Kemper, like a Kemper profile and now the neural capture thing. So to speak to that for a second. So in my review video, I compared, I did the neural capture of my Orange 8030 and I captured the exact same rig as a Kemper profile. Like literally all I did was take the two cables out of the neural DSP and put them into the Kemper. So it was like a 1-for-1 neural capture versus Kemper profile. And the quad cortex, I really think outshone the Kemper profile.
Outshone.
It
outperformed.
It outdid. It outwent. Hey, man, that's what I'm talking about.
Got him.
What was I saying? Oh. So the quad cortex profile, or I'm just going to call it all profiles. Okay. We all know what profiling is, whatever. Yeah. So the difference between the Kemper and the quad cortex was the Kemper profile of the same amp was like watching a video in 720p or even 1080p. I was like, okay, it's cool. It's there. I can see it. It does the thing. The quad cortex profile was like watching something in 4K, which is, wow, there's so much more fidelity. There's more information here just across the board. Whereas the original amp would be like, let's say 8K. I don't know if you've ever seen like an 8K television or something, but they're dumb. It's dumb. It's like looking through a window just into real life, basically.
Right.
The problem, though, with a Kemper profile, with a quad cortex profile, is it's just a snapshot of a specific amp with its specific settings at that specific time. Yeah. And you can change it, right? You can add, but essentially what like the Kemper is doing is just adding an EQ curve on top of that response curve, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
The Tone Master, though, solves that problem in that it gives you the real amp controls. And if they've done a good job, that should respond like the tube amp does. And so you have the ability to dial in sounds to taste.
Well, it's digitally emulating the topology of the amp, so like you're getting all the interaction of voltages across, your tone stack and your preamp and all the things that feed into each other. It's doing all that math that happens like, just via electricity normally. So like
which is
that is the
typically how I
difference.
like to do my math.
Yeah.
When I do math, I like to do it via electricity, typically.
Just have like a big Jacob's ladder beside you, and you're like throwing numbers into it.
Just Nixie tubes and stuff everywhere, and like got a mad scientist
Nixie
coat on.
tubes.
Nixie tubes are sweet. We should. Are they still being made? I feel like that's not a thing anymore.
I don't know. Like, if you don't know what a Nixie tube is, just like real quick, it was a precursor to LCD essentially, and it was a tube that had grids with numbers on it, and they glow just like a filament in a tube glows, and the pins would correspond to a number, and that's what the earliest clocks and calculators and
it's rad.
It's the coolest thing ever.
It's very like Fallout post-apocalyptic look. I love it.
So I was looking at some crazy watches on eBay,
Yeah.
and there was somebody had made a Nixie tube watch, but it's like
that big.
Like,
are they
huge.
actually Nixie tubes, or are they like LED?
Yeah. No, they're little like Nixie. There's little ones. I don't know. They may still make them. I don't know. But
That's great until you have to wear
neat.
your watch, and then it heats up to like 200 degrees, and it's because it's just tubes sitting there.
Have a big rectangular scar on your arm.
Yeah. Just the patch of hair right there on your wrist is permanently gone.
You just smell like burnt hair everywhere you go.
Hey man, what time is it? I don't know. Let me see.
You pull your sleeve up and just like this horrible
singeing
burn.
Oh
anyway.
My God. So yeah, back to the digital stuff. I think it's really interesting. Somebody in the chat's asking, does quad cortex beat everything on the market right now?
You're the only guy I know to ask.
And I said this in the video. My review wasn't sponsored. Quad cortex didn't give me or Neural DSP didn't give me the quad cortex. I'm going to buy it, basically. So no sponsorship, no strings, like totally free and clear, honest opinion. It's better than the Helix, I think, for two reasons. Neural capture, and the fact that you can use neural capture to capture pedals, which is pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stock cabs sound better. And the form factor is better than like the Helix floor. It mops the floor with the Kemper, because the Kemper is outdated at this point. I mean, the user interface on the quad cortex is light years beyond the Kempers, just in every way. The neural capture sounds better than the Kemper profiles. The only thing that Kemper beats out in it currently are the built-in effects. The built-in effects on the quad cortex are not that great, but that's something they'll probably update with time.
Right.
The only thing that is better than the quad cortex, in my opinion, is the AXFX 3. I think it sounds better. I think it's just, there's more functionality. The user interface on the unit itself is garbage. If you've ever used an AXFX 3, it's the most confusing, weird thing, menu divey thing ever. But it has a desktop editor that you can use, and it sounds better. Like, to me, the AXFX 3 is the king of the modelers. Like, just based on sound and built-in effects and response alone, it is damn good. But it's also way more expensive. It's a different unit. It's just kind of a different thing altogether, I think.
So, like, here's a question, and I think this is something that so many of us have to deal with when we're thinking about digital amps or modelers. Are there any that you've played that gives you the sensation of like an amp in a room?
No, because it's not. You're sitting playing on headphones, or you're sitting playing through a set of studio monitors.
Well, but like, what about going into an FRFR or whatever?
That is different. That is better. And I haven't done that as much. So, like, I haven't put the Kemper through an FRFR. The only thing I've done it with is the Helix, with the power cab. And it's good. It's really good. And the fact that you can load your own IRs on it and all that stuff is great. But compared to like the actual amp in the room, I don't know. It's subjective.
Yeah. I mean, I know that's not the point, and that's not what a modeling thing is doing. A modeling thing is capturing a recorded guitar sound,
right,
essentially. So, like, that's the thing that I've always struggled with is as good as these things can sound, like for your average player who's not recording, maybe they're doing some light recording, they're doing stuff at home for fun, or with some friends. Whenever you're playing, it doesn't give you the same experience. And that's the thing that I like the power cab and everything that it does. And especially with IRs, that really wakes it up. And that I think gets it closer, because that really seems like more of a amp in a room experience. But there's just a way, and I've not played enough. I've heard the Kemper powered cab thing or whatever, the Kemper
cone
cab
thing.
Yeah. I've heard one of those and stuff, but I've never heard anything that really, even at just a quiet level, sounds anything like an amp in a room.
So that's interesting. So I really like the power cab as well. The best thing about the power cab is the speaker, in that it's built like an actual guitar speaker. So 12-inch paper cone, like it's a full range speaker, which normal guitar speakers are not, but it's built like one, so it responds like one. Yeah. Where I think they messed up on the power cab is the actual like construction and shape of the cab. Like, to me, I don't understand the whole point of that, because if you've never seen a power cab, like the back end is round, sort of. It's not built like a 112 or a 212 cab typically would be. And the material, it's like wrapped in this sort of rubbery kind of, I don't know, vinyl sort of material. It's not like Tolex. I don't know what material it's made of. It might be pine or something. I don't know. But I think it would have been a little bit better, because part of when you're hearing an amp in a room, you're not just hearing the amp in the speaker, you're hearing the cabinet resonate as well. And the way the build, the construction of the cabinet influences the sound of the amp in the room and the amp under the microphone, frankly. Yeah. And the build of the power cab is different than like a traditional 112 or 212 cab. And I think that does affect the response a little bit.
Like, I would like to see a cab, and this might exist and I just don't know it, that would be open back. Because especially unless you're playing because honestly, it's like when I'm playing something that's supposed to have like a 4x12 sound, because that's a closed back experience.
Right. More direct, more focused.
Yeah. That I think kind of tricks my brain into thinking that's how it's supposed to sound.
Right.
But anything like a deluxe or a Vox or, matchless or whatever, that's supposed to be an open back cab, and you're used to hearing it like an open back cab, it's a total different thing.
But that's again, the thing with the Tone Master thing is like, it's in the same cabinet for all intents and purposes as the tube amp version. Yeah. Same dimensions, same shape, the speaker is different. And I guess it's because it has power handling, because I think the output of like the Tone Master Deluxe is like 120 watts or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard that it's not a good idea to put like a Greenback 25 in it, because you probably blow it up. Yeah,
maybe.
Because it's class D, so it's a different kind of power.
Yeah, it is, but that's the thing. It's like I would rather sacrifice the weight savings that the Tone Master offers for a more like robust speaker sound. Because like the neodymium thing, if you've never like heard a neodymium speaker. And to be fair, I've not heard all of them. I think the creamback one of the clips I've heard that Slesha makes is pretty good. But most of the time they're not. They're just kind of thin or bright. And I mean, you're sacrificing the tone for the weight savings, because neodymium doesn't weigh anything,
right, relative
to ceramic.
Yeah. So again, like we're getting into the weeds here, which I'm glad. Like, I like having this kind of discussions.
Well, what I mean, like, my whole thing is like, if digital tech is the future, it's going to have to scratch that itch, right? Because we can't. I don't think And I think it will get there. I think we're going to be able to. I think eventually we're going to have more technology that, like a cabinet technology that interacts with these sort of digital things and gives you that in the room experience, because that's what I think is truly missing.
Right.
And I think once that happens and is much more accessible to everybody, because like let's face it, the quad cortex is awesome and it sounds great, but it's still $1,600, and for $1,600 you can get a pretty kick-ass amp.
Right.
You know, so like people have to see the value in all situations, not just, you know, in a live performance or recording situation.
Right. And that's still the whole thing with the modeling versus real amp debate. You know, and when you talk to players that have the opportunity to gig, whether a lot, and they're playing everywhere from clubs to theaters to arenas, most every player is going to tell you like, well, yeah, the real amp is better 100% of the time. And yeah, I would agree. Like if I have my choice of what I'm going to bring to a gig and I can play what I want to play, I'm going to bring the real amp, because that's the thing. That is still the benchmark. But I really like the digital stuff because it gives you more options and more opportunities to do stuff. And the better that they get, the better that they sound, the more opportunities you have. Like, to get great sounding tones in a wider variety of situations. And especially for things like recording, man, like I use the Captor X and the aux almost exclusively now when I'm recording. Like I never really mic up amps anymore.
Right.
Because it's just easier and it sounds damn good. It sounds really, really good in the recorded mix.
You're just taking out all the parts you can mess up.
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, you could definitely still mess up the signal in the aux, or like, you don't know about EQ and all that kind of stuff. You could still definitely mess it up, but
it's more like it's more of an immediate thing. I think like you can hear. There's the immediacy of like knowing, okay, well this mic doesn't sound right, or I need to EQ this, and then like you can fix it before you're like you don't have to go back and move a mic. You're just moving a slider or whatever. And it's it's super convenient. And I mean, the aux to me, people ask me about it all the time. And I barely use mine anymore just because I don't have time. But it was a game changer. When I finally heard it, and I had to buy one to try it, it was like, this is one of the coolest things I've ever heard. That's so easy. It's just so easy.
Yeah, for recording stuff and being at home and everything. The one thing that I don't like about the aux and the Captor X, specifically for live use, is the attenuators in both of them suck. And you can't bypass the attenuators. So on the aux, even on its highest setting, it's still attenuating, which I think is, I wish they wouldn't have done that. I wish you could bypass the attenuator and just run the output.
I agree.
Maybe there's some reason behind that I don't know about, but
I'm sure it's got to pad it a little bit. You know, I don't know. But agreed. The attenuator in the aux, if you're buying it strictly as an attenuator, you're buying the wrong thing.
Yeah, don't get that. Get the Iron Man attenuator.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many attenuators that do it. Yeah, like attenuators too is the thing. You have to like, you might not get the one that works for you,
right? Because
like they all sound different.
Mm-hmm. They do a different thing for sure. So, but getting back to this point of like the future going digital, this is where the market's headed, man. This is where a lot of the sales are happening. And I just don't see it going back any time. I don't really see that pendulum swinging back for guitar players.
I think it's going to go like, like the long-term idea that I think I have is that digital is going to become more of the industry standard. And what we're going to see is a more, boutique approach with all the analog stuff like Fenders. Yeah, and the Fender's kind of already doing that, you know, doing the hand-wired things. And I think you're going to see those kind of take more prominence, and the normal bread and butter stuff kind of goes away, and that like it's going to split even harder between the two industries.
So already, it's already starting to happen. So like Milkman, the amp, is what first came to mind, and I have mine sitting around here, but it's too far away. But also this is from Victory Amps, the Duchess. This is like a desktop amp, and it's, you know, a tube hybrid amp. So it's got a tube preamp section and a digital power amp section. Right. And you can go DI with it. It's got an effects loop. it's cool. It fits on your desk or on top of a cabinet or whatever. And it's like, you know, it has a direct speaker out, so you could go to a cab. You could mic a cab if you wanted. Like, same thing with the Milkman stuff. So yeah, you're going to start to see more of the boutique world getting into this kind of thing.
Yeah, and again, even with like the normal non-boutique brands, I think those like, I mean, I would not be shocked if in the next 5 or 10 years, the Deluxe Reverb reissue just goes away and it's just the hand-wired one.
Maybe.
And then the Tone Master is like, that's that one. And then you have the fancy one.
Right.
And like, because
it does seem that there's a little overlap now in their product lineup where you've got like the Tone Master Deluxe, then the normal Deluxe, the DRRI, and then the hand-wired. Well, then you got the Silverface like 68, which is a different
4
thing. Yeah. It's like, what? How many? So what would be cool? All right, Fender, here's some free advice from Dipton Tone. We know you're watching.
Yeah.
Trying to.
I know some people over there.
We know you want to hear what we have to say. I'm just kidding. But if we got hired, Shoyles Consulting got hired by Fender. Mm-hmm. Here's what I would say. We'd walk into that boardroom, me and you. We'd like slam our fists down on the table and be like, you guys are fucking up. Let me tell you something. You have the Tone Master Deluxe Reverb, and then you do an exact, just part for part rebuild of the 64 Blackface Deluxe. And you can charge whatever you want for it. Just charge $3,000 for it, whatever. Maybe not $3,000 because that's what a real old one's going for. Maybe charge $2,500 for it. But the speaker's right, the cabinet's right, the circuit's right, the parts and the values are right. It's all right, and you've got the thing. And it says Fender on it. You know, it is the 64 Blackface Deluxe. And then for the rest of the market, you have the Tone Master.
I think it makes total sense.
Right. So then you say that. You're like, I think it makes total sense. And then I point at you and say, see? And then we just leave. We walk out of the
and they'd be like, who the hell were those two?
Oh, my God.
But I mean, like, don't you think that's the way it's going to go?
I don't know, dude. Listen, I play guitar and make videos online. Like, what do I know about running a business?
Well, I mean, from from a pedal standpoint. So, we started with the whole UA pedal thing. I think eventually all these, like, I don't even know how to describe them, like the analog men of the guitar world, like those components are probably going to dry up, like all the NOS stuff. Like inevitably they will. They have to. There are people making new germanium transistors. There's people making new germanium diodes. There's people making new everything. But they're never going to be those old ones. They're never going to sound exactly like them. So I think that even the pedal market is going to split even further. I think the stigma with SMT is finally starting to die completely.
Surface mount, you mean?
Yeah, surface mount. SMT is surface mount technology. Like have that stigma of people like, I don't want it surface mount. I think that's going away. Mm-hmm. There's still the definite purists, but I think we're going to see more people kind of diving headfirst into that. But I still think that the people who are going to rule the digital space in the guitar pedal community will still be the big boys, the Strymons. Mm-hmm. We don't know if UA is going to kill it yet or not, but I suspect they will. Like those people, because digital is so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah, dude. There's a barrier to entry there. That's like what would it take for you to build a delay pedal that competed with the El Capistan, for example?
Oh, I mean, I couldn't do it, like, period. I would have to hire a designer. Like, I know what parts that they are using, and I know how the topology of the circuit kind of works, mm-hmm. but putting it together, I have no clue. So, just from a monetary standpoint, to develop something just to compete with the El Cap, which is by this point pretty simple,
Right.
Would take probably $5,000 or more to really develop it and make it right. Because, I know how much it's cost me to develop like pretty simple analog stuff. and it was not cheap. And like that's no programming, that's no coding,
Right.
apart from like a tap tempo code, which is like pretty standard now, copy paste sort of thing. You know, it would just take so much, and even then, for like let's say I wanted to do that. A service standpoint, like if it breaks,
yep.
let's just like replace it. How do you service those things? And I'm sure that's what Strymon does.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I have done that. Well, no, I had on my timeline, I was on a gig one time and somebody laid a bunch of cables on top of my pedal board, and then they moved my pedal board and they ripped one of the knobs off my timeline, which is awesome.
God.
It was so great. I was so happy. But I sent it off and they repaired it. They replaced the encoder on the board and then just sent me the pedal back. But I was in the middle of gigging a lot at that time. And so I bought another timeline to replace the one that I got. Because I had, it was on my only delay pedal. So I had to have it. And then when I got my old one back, I just sold on Reverb.
Right. I mean, like,
and I did disclose that it was repaired and the whole thing. I didn't like try and sell it as new, but
yeah, I mean, but like, repairing those sort of things, it's probably cheaper for them just to gut it and put a whole new circuit board inside it. I mean, like replacing one knob, a rotary encoder, that's not that big a deal. But even then, especially if for like small builders, because I know people that try to go digital and do that, and it's like, when it breaks, it's not worth the time it takes someone to repair it.
So I think it seems like we're talking about the market will be split in terms of builders and companies between like the big guys that can do the digital stuff. It kind of already is this way, right? Strymon and now UA and Boss and Eventide and, who else? Like
Line 6. Well, do they make pedal? Well, I mean,
no, they do the HX effects, but that's not like,
that's a different thing.
And they've been in the game for long. I mean, the DL4 and everything, they were kind of like one of the first people in the game. But then there's smaller builders. I mean, even big companies like JHS, I don't know that they would ever go down that route of like, I can't imagine a JHS like H9, for example.
No, I mean, and Josh definitely has the team to develop that, but ultimately it comes down to what is a reflection of you and your brand, because JHS is Josh. I mean, apart from it being his initials, like he's not going to make something that doesn't speak to him as a player. And like, I never really see him touting like big digital pedals, really. I don't know if I've ever seen him use a Strymon pedal.
Yeah, they do. He uses them
Does
on
he?
those, on their live streams and stuff.
Oh, okay.
On YouTube and everything. But, yeah, it's like, so you're going to have the big players doing the digital thing, I think, a lot. Because I don't know that Strymon, well, they do some analog stuff, like the Compadre is analog, right?
Is it?
I think so. I need to look at my board. I think it says analog compression on it.
Oh.
But UA is never going to go analog. UA's all, well, actually, shit, I don't know, because UA makes hardware still. Like you can still buy an LA2A or 1176 from them. Yeah.
And I mean, they very well could enter the analog pedal game, but I doubt it. I think like they would do okay at it, but I just don't see UA as having that sort of boutique overdrive. I can't imagine them doing very well on that.
But I do think it's really, really telling of how big the pedal market actually is that a company like UA decided to jump in, because they're a big manufacturer and they cover a lot of ground. I mean, they're one of the biggest manufacturers in the pro audio and studio space. And for them to jump into the pedal world, like a company like that is not going to move and shake and put together all that R&D and develop the products and the supply chain and the distribution, logistics and everything to sell like a few thousand units or even, like, so to me, that says that the pedal market and the guitar market overall is big place, I think.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I do think it's really hard for people to come into this now without having something that really stands out, because you either have to have something so monumental that people just go, what is that? I have to have it, like the poly digit or whatever.
Right.
Like, never heard of that. And then it enters and people, because it's so different. It's so out there.
Right.
Or you have a name or some sort of establishment like Matt Hoops in the 1981 DRV. Like, if he hadn't been Matt Hoops, like, would that have succeeded the way that it did? I mean, it's a killer pedal and it's beautiful looking.
Right.
But I've seen a lot of really cool looking pedals that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah, just don't work.
So, entering the pedal market is, I mean, this is a podcast we could totally do, and I could really like lay it all out there for people, because it's difficult. But I just think you're right. I think that what we're going to see from the industry as a whole is a divide of where the lines in the middle are going to get blurred from, I think they've already become blurred from, digital solid state, even low entry level tube amps are going to shift more to the digital way. And then everything else is going to go more of the high end boutique, and not necessarily super boutique, but more of a, a through hole traditional method. And that's just going to be a split down the
It's
middle.
just going to go this way. And I think we'll see the same thing in the amp world too.
Yeah, well, oh yeah. I mean, everything. Yeah. Because why does Fender, for instance, why does Fender need to make those the Champion series and the Mustang series and the reissue amps and the Tone Masters? They don't. They I mean, I'm sure they all have their niche because they're all at really different price points.
Right.
But
that's interesting too from a big company like Fender, and it'll be interesting to see how Gibson gets into this market. Now, I don't think Gibson's going to go down the digital route because they bought Mesa. I mean, they do some sort of non truly analog stuff, but Mesa's not.
Do they?
They do the cab clone and things like that, but my point is that they do more than just straight ahead tube guitar amps, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't see Gibson going down that route. I don't think Gibson's user base is into that. I mean, I see Gibson's user base as being 40 and older, kind of market. And I think a lot of those people don't really care. Fender's user base, I think, is a little bit younger. They're a little bit, maybe hipper in some ways, but and they've been in the amp game for a long time, and they've been building the digital stuff and the student amps and everything for a long, long time. So they've already established that. But yeah, I don't understand why they need to have all the different tiers of digital stuff and then tube amps and then all that stuff.
Yeah, I think we're just going to see it shift. It not overnight.
No,
but it just goes to back to what I said about the quality of the entry level thing, and the price of the those things being way more reasonable and so much better than they've ever been. I'm the things I hope for. Maybe we could end on this. What we hope to see is, I hope that the Tone Master thing, that there is some sort of cab solution for those who like modelers, where you can turn off any cabinet emulation or whatever on the unit itself, and it sounds as close as you can get to playing that amp in a room.
Yep. We're close. I mean, we're close. I think the power cab is close. I think the Kemper cone, the Kemper cab, I think is close. But here's the thing. I want it to look like an old school guitar cab.
Yeah.
I don't want the big green thing with the Kemper logo on the front and the whole thing. I want a 112. I want a 410 option. I want a 212. I want a 412 option. They need to look right. They need to sound right. And then, you can just plug in whatever you want. You got a Kemper, you got a Helix, you got a quad cortex, you got a HX Stomp, you got whatever you got going straight into that thing, and it just works. That would be amazing.
Dude, when you were saying that, I had this idea. Wouldn't it be cool if someone develops that technology as a power amp that you could then put in in a cabinet maker? Anybody could develop a cab that you put this power amp in your cabinetry, and you could have anything. You could have any shape, any style, any Tolex, anything. That would be wicked.
There is some stuff out there. And they're kind of in the, people that are really into the Kemper, for example, before the powered Kemper came out, the only option you had to drive a cabinet was to get like a rack mount power unit. And there's a few of those that are out there now that are like supposedly really highly sought after for amp, like power amp response, right? Yeah, but what you're saying is like, I don't want to have like a rack mount unit on top of my cabinet and the whole thing, like something that integrates into that thing.
Like you could have like your quad cortex on the floor, right? But your cabinet in the back just looks like an old Supro cab, or like not necessarily a 4x12, but something that looks more like a guitar amp.
Or what if you could just buy the power amp module and the speaker and put it in whatever cab you want?
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking. That like,
yeah.
If Line 6 made like a package that amp or cab builders could buy, and you just install it into whatever.
Dude, screw Line 6. Let's do a Shoyles power amp speaker combo.
Get your Shoyles tone here. Get it.
And what
first.
you could do, like what would be really cool is like you have it in the cabinet, right? And so there's not going to be any user interface with it because it's, so you'd have to have power run to it, right? So you have to modify your cab a little bit. You'd have to mount the power unit. You'd have to run power to it, and then you could have like a little Wi-Fi or Bluetooth module in it with an app that lets you control the different speakers. I'm serious. Like have all the functionality that you have in like the Cap Direct. Two Notes needs to do this. I think this is like a Two Notes thing. I think.
Yeah.
Where you can retrofit any cab with a Two Notes like speaker emulation thing.
That'd be pretty wicked. Yeah. Whoever's listening, you can have that one.
I know the Two Notes guys. I'm gonna call them up and be like, hey,
call Derek.
I got an idea for you guys. You're gonna love it. It's funny too because the chat seems really split on the UA pedals too. People are like, I'm not interested in those. I don't care about those. And some people are really into them.
I'm not gonna buy one. I don't care to play one.
I do now because they're a sponsor of my stuff. I don't know if I'll end up buying one or if they'll show up. I don't know yet. They didn't even tell me that they were happening. So I found out when everyone else found out.
Yeah.
But I am really excited to check them out because I know how good those plugins sound. And if I could have those on a pedal board situation, I'd be into it.
Dude, I get it. Like I think they sound great. Like I watched Andy's demo and they sounded great, but it's just like, for me, when something new comes out, I just think, do I need this? Like, does this cover a ground I'm not already covering? And for me, it's like, no, I don't, it's
I don't need it either. You see all the shit that I have around here?
I know. And see, that's the thing. I need to cut back. Seriously.
Yeah, I know.
But speaking of all the shit you have, you want to do your shill of the week? Did you pick one out?
I completely forgot. Do you have one? You can go first.
I do. Well, I need you to watch.
Okay. Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. What do you think?
I need you to watch.
So my shill of the week is a promise fulfilled. There is your King of Tone. Your King of Tone. So I built it in this Gorva. It's like let's see if I can show this. It's hard.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
It's like a pillow top.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's like a weird iridescent sparkle paint. But the only thing is I put it all together. I drilled this myself.
I know.
I hate doing that. I put it all together and the LEDs are wired in backwards.
I don't care. I don't care.
The LEDs don't turn on.
Oh, I don't care.
I'm going to fix it. But because the person who designed this circuit board is from pedalpcb.com. So that could be my shill if you want to clone
pedalpcb.com.
Yeah, pedal PCB. I think their pads for their LEDs are backwards to what most people use, where square is positive. And I was put it in, I'm like, this thing is working. And then I plugged it up and was playing it. And I was like, oh, no, it works. But the LEDs don't work. So now I have to take the whole damn thing apart.
That's going to be dude, screw everyone else's King of Tones that are going for $500 on Reverb. This is the one to have. This is the rarest King of Tone of them all.
Please, no one asked me to make it.
There's one of one. It's in the special enclosure with the backwards LEDs. Like the gear page is going to go ape shit over this.
Well, someone on that video where we talked about the King of Tone gave me a lot of shit for saying just buy a clone. And what I was saying was, don't spend $500 on one. Get on a wait list.
Mm-hmm.
Buy a clone, and the meanwhile, and then decide if you like it.
Right.
And then if you do, just get it for like $250 or $300, whatever they cost.
Wait the thing and get the real one.
And like that's what I was meaning. And furthermore, the King of Tone is a clone of a blues breaker. So, and this one's kind of different. So one thing that's cool about this is it actually has like a charge pump, so it runs at 18 volts.
Charge
pump, but everything else is the same. So
that's the name of my early 2000s new metal band, cover band. Charge Pump.
Your first album was like Get Serviced.
Yeah, baby, 18 volts, higher headroom.
That's it.
It's a high headroom album.
It's got the high gain, low gain mod, so you're set.
Here's the thing about the pedal market that just baffles me, right? About the online. Well, here's about the online community around pedals, specifically the forum community. It is the double standard of all double standards. Like some people,
yes,
like you can get, like Josh at JHS has taken heat from forums in the past for like cloning stuff, but then everybody, loses their minds over the King of Tone, which is a modified blues breaker.
Yeah. I mean, it's got like one added resistor and like a couple other things tacked onto it, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same circuit.
Yeah. I mean, even the Lightspeed, the Greer Lightspeed, which is like my favorite overdrive of all time, that's like a blues breaker, isn't it?
No.
Okay, well, then forget what I just said then.
It's a different thing. It's funny, like the Lightspeed for so long was this mystery because Nick gooped it. And like it finally got traced, and I was like, that's what I thought it was when I finally saw the schematic. But I think, the Lightspeed to me is so much better than the Blues Breaker. I feel like you're going to get this and be like, that.
About the King of Tone?
Clone, yeah. I mean, I don't think you'll be that, but I think you're going to go, oh, that's what it does?
King of Clone. Well, no, what I'm going to try and do is just talk about how great it is so I can drive up the price, and then I'll sell it.
Yeah. You know what I thought? Okay. This can be the last thing.
I'm just kidding, by the way. If anybody's watching this and they take that seriously,
I had this idea because Josh put his Klon up for $0.5 mil.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
I want to put mine on there for $0.25 mil.
You should.
And in the title say cheaper than JHS's second.
Oh man, start some beef.
I think he would share it because he would find it funny.
Yeah, he would. I think he would find that funny.
Anyway, I'll take a picture of it on like a different color piece of construction paper because his is on pink or whatever, and take it on like a green one, and like cheaper than the second one.
All right, my shill of the week's another microphone, and it's this microphone.
Wait,
that one. Okay, so I used this microphone last week out of necessity because I was using my cloud lifter on something else, and then I got a text from our editor Milton like the next day. He was like, man, that new mic sounded really, really good on your voice. And I listened to the episode and I was like, actually, yeah, I like that better on my voice than the SM7. So this is a Roswell Audio Mini K47, or this is the 87, sorry, the Mini K87. So this is essentially like a miniaturized budget-friendly clone of the Neumann U87, which is one of the most famous condenser mics of all time. Solid state, not tube. It's a FET mic, not tube driven, but it sounds fantastic. I bought it. I did get an artist price on it, but I bought it several months ago. I got it and its cousin. They make another one called the K47, which is like a U47 clone. And they're fantastic, man. If you're looking for a good like condenser mic that's pretty budget-friendly, small, easy to use and place around, and you don't want to buy a Neumann because they're crazy expensive, the Roswell Audio stuff is really good. So
how much are they?
I think only $500.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. I paid like $350, I think, for this one. So
don't say that.
Oh, sorry. Well, what am I? Like I said, I got an artist price for it.
Yeah, well, I guess, but then you're giving away the discount.
Let's see.
I would spend more money on more mics, but this is the only thing I use a microphone for. So
$399 at Vintage King, so it's $400. So I must have paid.
Okay.
What did I pay for this thing?
You paid full retail. They're like, we're giving you the artist price.
I was like, oh, cool. No, I bought
Rhett
it
Shill,
like
who?
I bought it like. So here's how it works. I got is really what happened. Roswell, like a year and a half ago, maybe it was even 2 years ago. They're like, hey, can we send you some mics to check out? I was like, sure. I'm a nerd for microphones. I love microphones. Like, yeah, I'd love to check them out. And it was on like they call it like an evaluation loan. And I was using them on the YouTube channels, recording some guitars and stuff with them. And then I was using them on my podcast last season. And then they did the thing. They let me have it for like a year and a half. And then they're like, hey, just want to check in on those mics and let you know that, if you want to buy them, you can buy them at this artist price. Or if not, we need them back. So we need to send them to the next person. And I was like, what? I don't want to send them back. Like, I've been using them. And then, so I got had.
I got my spit on them. I can't send them back now.
Yeah, I can't send this back. I'm still sad you don't use the SM7B anymore. The SM7 will come back. But yeah, Shill of the week. Roswell Audio.
Go.
Check them out.
Boom.
They're good. I like them. Yeah.
Well.
All right. Well.
I hope people find this one interesting, because the last one there was at least one comment that was like, this one wasn't very good.
We failed the vibe check on the last episode. Normally these episodes have a lot of vibe, but this one was tough to get through. Listen, they can't all be winners, okay? No. We can't always deliver quality content to you guys.
Even the great strikeout.
It's the bad episodes that make the good episodes that much better.
Yeah, and I really liked the last episode.
I did too. I thought we had a good time, but that one guy was like, this was tough to get through.
Well, if you have an idea for an episode or a topic, please email it to us, because apparently we're in desperate need.
Yeah. Apparently we're only 23 episodes in and we're already losing it.
Man, I hope we don't fizzle out. I hope we're not like, it's episode 30 and I just don't have it in me to do this anymore.
It was just a short run. It was good while it lasted. But look, internet comments, man, just they are what they are.
Yep.
People think we're pretentious. They think we're stuck up. They think we're boring. But you know what? I have a good time on the show.
That's right.
And the people here hanging out have a good time on the show. So we appreciate y'all.
Nothing but love.
Nothing but love.
All right.
See y'all next week on Dipped in Tone 24. And I promise I'm going to remember that that's episode 24 next week.
Last episode, I put the wrong episode number in the actual video. Because we said it was 21 in the beginning of the video and it was 22. And so in the start of the video, I'm like, it's 21.
Oh, my God.
Idiot. So
kind of quality content you can expect from.
We can only do so much.
We can only do so
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.